If you own your home after 60, do these 5 moves before someone else controls it. I'm going to say that again because I need you to hear it clearly. Before someone else controls it. Not steals it with a crowbar, not breaks down your door, controls it with paper, with a filing you never saw, with a deadline you didn't know existed, with a form you assumed someone would have told you about. Here is the most expensive sentence in retirement. If it were important, somebody would have told me. Nobody told Margaret. Margaret paid off her house in 2019 after 28 years of mortgage payments. She felt safe. She felt done. She felt like she had finally won. In 2022, a fraudulent deed transfer appeared in her county's public records. Someone had filed a document claiming ownership of her property. It cost her 11 months and $23,000 in legal fees to untangle. The house she owned, free and clear, was temporarily in someone else's name because of one missing filing that would have cost her nothing. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the 5 moves that would have protected Margaret and the 5 moves that will protect you. Here is what nobody explains to older Americans. When you still owe the bank, there is a giant institution sitting in front of your front door, a lender watching the paper trail, a servicing department sending notices, a machine wrapped around that property. That machine is not protecting you, it is protecting itself. But it is also accidentally protecting you, because criminals and collectors see the bank's name on that property and move on. The moment the mortgage disappears, the machine disappears with it, and your house, your paid-off, fully owned, lifetime of discipline house, is now standing alone in public records, under your name, with its full equity visible to anyone who runs a search. A paid-off house looks peaceful to the owner. It looks liquid to the criminal. It looks collectible to the creditor. It looks transferable to the fraudster. You did not build a vault. You built a vault without guards, and a vault without guards is not an asset. It is an invitation. The 5 moves I'm about to show you are the guards, not because each one is magical. What matters is the operating system they create together. Let's build it. Move 1, the homestead filing. And before your eyes glaze over, stay with me for 60 seconds, because this is the move that costs nothing and protects the most. Here is how the loss happens without it. A retiree reaches 65 with a paid-off house. He thinks the danger is over because the mortgage is over. Then a civil judgment appears. This isn't a movie, not a mafia operation. It's a medical collection dispute, a contractor lawsuit, a neighbor's personal injury claim. Ordinary American friction. Now the equity that looked like safety begins to look like prey. In many states, the law gives your primary residence a degree of protection against certain unsecured creditors, but that protection often only works when it has been properly claimed, documented, and filed under the rules where you live. The average retiree hears that and immediately becomes bored. That boredom is expensive. The filing costs nothing in most counties. The legal protection it creates can shield tens of thousands of dollars in equity. Think about that asymmetry. $0 to file for potentially $40,000 to $100,000 in protected equity. Nobody throws a party because they notarized a one-page form. Nobody brags at dinner because they recorded a protective filing at the county office. That is exactly why disciplined people keep more of what they build. They are willing to do humiliatingly boring things before the emergency. The vault gets its first guard. Move 2, property fraud alerts. I want you to think like a thief for exactly 30 seconds. If you had no conscience and a laptop, would you target the young renter with no equity, the over-leveraged family drowning in payments, or the older homeowner with a free and clear property sitting in public records under his own name? You would target the equity. Crime follows exposed value. That is one of the most stable laws in finance. Modern deed fraud is built on genius. It is built on administrative delay and homeowner ignorance.
The criminal doesn't need to occupy your living room to damage your life. He needs a recorded document, a temporary window, and your slow awareness. Here is what makes this especially maddening. In many counties, a free fraud alert program exists. It costs nothing. It takes 5 minutes to set up. It sends you an immediate notification if any document is filed on your property. And almost nobody is actively told to enroll. This is how institutions behave. They technically make help available, then quietly leave the burden of discovery on the citizen. A fraudulent document discovered within a day is a problem. A fraudulent document discovered after loans, transfers, and follow-on filings have piled on top of it becomes a swamp. And swamps cost $23,000 to drain. Ask Margaret. 5 minutes. Free. Do it today. The vault gets its second guard. Move 3. Understanding what your title coverage actually covers. Most people signed a stack of documents at closing they didn't fully understand and told themselves everything important must be handled because the process looked official. Official-looking processes create a lot of false comfort. Here is the distinction that matters. Standard title insurance primarily looks backward. It covers defects, liens, and ownership problems that existed before you bought the property. It's a rear-view mirror. But the threat Margaret faced came from the windshield, a forged document filed after she became the owner, a fraudulent conveyance that happened on her watch. Standard coverage often does not speak to that. Enhanced coverage sometimes does. The question is not which product makes you feel covered. The question is, what does your actual policy cover, and what future fraud scenarios leave you exposed? That phone call takes 10 minutes. What policy do I have? What events are covered? What fraud scenarios after closing are addressed? That set of questions has saved people a tremendous amount of money. No heroics, no genius, just a willingness to ask narrow adult questions before the emergency. The vault gets its third guard. Move 4, a revocable living trust. And I need to destroy a misconception immediately. Most people hear living trust and imagine it belongs to wealthy families with private attorneys and complicated estates. That is an expensive misconception. Here is how ordinary people get this wrong. They say, I have a will, I've handled the house. No, a will is often an instruction set for probate, and probate is one of those polite words that sounds harmless until it touches your family. What is probate in plain English? It is the system's way of saying, before this property moves, it's going to slow down, become more public, become more procedural, and give more people an opportunity to take a fee from the transfer. A revocable living trust does two things simultaneously. It creates continuity if you become incapacitated, and it creates a cleaner, more private path when you die. Two different forms of protection, one structure. A house sitting in a trust presents a more complex target than a house sitting naked in public records under one elderly individual's direct name. Complexity is not invincibility, but complexity pushes opportunistic criminals toward easier prey. Criminals like fast. Probate courts are slow. Trusted successor structures can be fast. That asymmetry matters. The vault gets its fourth guard. Move 5, treating your property tax record like a live control panel. This is the least glamorous move on the list. It is also the most dangerous to ignore, because the local tax system doesn't need malice to hurt you. It only needs a delinquency process and your inattention. And unlike private threats, tax systems move on timelines that are objective, posted, and completely indifferent to your feelings. Here is the story nobody tells. A retired teacher, fixed income, missed one property tax notice during a hospital stay. By the time she opened the mail, the delinquency process had already started. The redemption window was closing. The house she owned, free and clear, now encumbered by a government process she didn't know was running because of one missed letter. The local tax system doesn't care how long you lived there. It doesn't care how faithfully you paid for 30 years. It cares about the current status of the file and the current status of the clock. Know whether you are current. Know where the notices go. Know the senior exemptions available in your county. Know the redemption period if delinquency ever occurs. Know the deadlines. Do not say, "I'll deal with it if it happens." That sentence is how people lose negotiation time, and negotiation time is one of the most valuable assets you have in any bureaucracy. The vault gets its fifth guard. The operating system is complete. Let me pull back and show you the deeper pattern. What destroys retirees is not just low returns or medical costs. There is another destroyer hiding in plain sight: administrative fragility. The person who loses the house is often not morally weaker than the person who keeps it. He is administratively weaker. He did not build the shell. He did not know where the pressure points were. He did not understand the asymmetry between one free filing done on time